Now, it is World Skills Day, and the best way to ensure essential skills are taught is by upskilling teachers. Often referred to as the mother of all professions, teaching in South Africa is severely underdeveloped. According to the CEO of EdTech platform IDEA, Dr. Corrin Varady, teachers are critical for equipping young people with skills for employment, decent work and entrepreneurship. One of the ways this can be done is through digital solutions. And to elaborate further, I'm joined by Dr. Corrin Varady. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us here on eNCA. A very important discussion. I just read a stat earlier stating that 70% of young people are unemployed, but above that, a large percentage of young people in the country are also unemployable because they lack certain skills. Let's start by talking about these challenges.
Yeah, so I think we need to definitely focus impenetrably, actually, on the link between our basic education results and outcomes and our youth unemployment and certainly our labour market employment statistics. And I say that impenetrably because we often focus at that higher education or vocational education space, but sometimes, not always, it may be too late. And we're looking at a vast population of students and learners who are not able to even access that space because they're actually coming out of a basic education matriculation system without functional skills and education backgrounds. And so then what is the link between those? And that's ultimately our teachers. And how we improve our teachers will ultimately then how we will see improvement in our youth unemployment figures. But if we don't address those critical systemic issues around what we're actually teaching students in the basic education space, I think it's probably naive of us to believe that in the next 5 to 10 years we're going to see any difference in our employment statistics.
Doctor, let's chat a little bit about how the world is evolving, and the digital space is ever evolving as well. Talk to us about some of the challenges educators and trainers face in this environment.
Yeah, and I think, we're talking about lots of things like fourth industrial revolution, digital skills, we talk about information technologies. So, everything that is mapped and aligned to global standards, but we're not necessarily at those global standards for our students and certainly our teachers. The expectation is that we focus on digital literacy, for example. And digital literacy is severely below the benchmark of any of these kind of global digital industry skills or competencies. And so that's part of the challenge, because there's a disconnect between the expectation we have of our educators and the support we then give our educators versus, for example, where we expect our labour market to be currently, and certainly as we go into sort of 2030 national development plans. But I think the critical aspect to this is the difference between digital literacy and digital skills development in terms of the education space. How do you teach and learn with digital technology, as opposed to how do you just learn what digital technology is?
So talk to us a little bit about your organization and how it then assists in these spaces.
I think professional development is critical to this, and I think teachers deserve that. I think they deserve it from a point of view of the satisfaction of their jobs. I think also teachers have gone through an extraordinary journey in terms of what they've had to deal with COVID, and also in a post-pandemic school environment, which is a real nightmare for many teachers, dealing with the disparity of learner development and stages. And so part of what we're trying to do is actually promote professional development for teachers. So how can they use the material, which really for us started as a student-centered or learner-centered product, but how can we now make sure that technology isn't missed out from our educators and trainers? And being World Youth Skills Day, theme being around teachers and trainers, I think it's aptly themed, because we really need to tap into how do we professionally develop those educators to be a part of a digital revolution and transformative revolution, and not just expect it to come from our learners. We have to work together.
And then, Doctor, how do we then ensure that while upskilling educators, teachers and trainees, we ensure that that upskilling process then directly and positively impacts on the unemployment rate, specifically when it comes to young people in the country?
So I think we'll definitely look at indirect and positive consequence of working on educational outcomes in basic education, in ensuring that we're fulfilling roles that are emerging in this sort of digital economy, both global and a national South African digital economy. We know that we're creating roles as we speak today that we're not fulfilling the requirement of. But we've got a backlog in information systems and in computer digital technologies, and actually in digital economy in and of itself, business studies and economics being core foundations of that. So if we address those subject areas and we address the professional development of our teachers, and we start to see that matriculation is not a statistic, but actually as a sort of a benchmark that allows students to be able to go on to higher education and to higher qualified skills, we know that it will actually fill current jobs, but it will mean that South Africa will be at the forefront of being able to create new jobs to be able to outsource to the world. And so I think at the moment, if you were to ask me, well, do we have enough jobs for a full digital stack of students coming through if we improved it? Maybe not. But we know that that's coming in the next 10 years. And we definitely know we want South African employees to be those individuals being employed in South Africa that are exposed to the world. And we need to be able to create those roles. So in doing so and making sure that we touch on those subject areas, we will be creating the jobs, not just fulfilling them.
We hope so. It's a very interesting conversation, Doctor. We appreciate your time and your insights, and also just raising awareness around the various opportunities that exist in this space. That was Dr. Corrin Varady from the platform IDEA, just chatting to us about upskilling teachers, trainees and young people as we commemorate and observe World Youth Skills Day today. We will be continuing this conversation in a separate interview a little bit later with another guest, so stay tuned for that.